Hello everyone, good evening once again, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be doing a very important poem by Eavan Boland and it's called Love. In this very poem, it is very important to understand what illusion really is, as there are many examples of it that occur in this very poem. For the sake of clarity and explanation, as well as analysis, I am going to divide my analysis into lines. So for the first few minutes, I'll be talking about line 1 to line 6. The first thing that we want to deduct from this is that the poet is revisiting a town in Iowa, in the United States of America, where she once used to live with her husband and family. When she does that, she crosses a certain bridge, and this bridge symbolizes something that is very important. What is very important to say is that the bridge is basically an object of transition that takes you from one place to another place. And what is also important, that this scene occurs at dusk. While she crosses the bridge, she makes a reference to a very important mythology, and that is basically Greek mythology allusion, which is river Styx. So it's very important to indicate, just like the whole thing happens at dusk, which is a transition period, just like the bridge is a transition between two places, river Styx was also a transition between earth and hell, or earth and the underworld. It is very important in Homer's Odyssey, the hero goes to the underworld, uses this river to get to his wife Penelope in a faster manner. It's very important to ask a question, so does she really refer to this mythology because her husband also used to rush home to her when they used to live there? It's also very crucial to understand that this poem happens at dusk, and hence we try to understand there are some things that are not yet said and about to happen. We don't know what they are. So it's a transition period. What are we really waiting for? So there you go, these are your first lines, and that is your first allusion that you should know. Of course, as we proceed to lines 7 to 12, we understand and see how the poet reflects on the past and how they used to live. She recalls on the matters and objects that they had at home, such as the kitchen and the Amish table that they had. It's very important for us to understand that the name of the poem is called Love, and she says from lines 7 to 12 that love came to visit them and live with them there. So what she does is she personifies that. She uses personification to deliver a message. She uses muscle of wings to refer to love, and from this phrase we can understand that basically love was strong because, muscle of wings. She also doesn't fail to mention the 4 elements of Greece, which are basically fire, air, earth, and water, right? She focuses a lot on fire, and basically maybe we can relate that love was like fire to them. It was unstoppable, and once it catches onto something, it never stops growing. What is also very important to indicate for this first mythology that we come and refer to is Odysseus' journey through hell. They meet former companions who were trapped down there. They want to say something but they can't because they're trapped and they have no ability to speak any longer. What does this really tell us about what's going on here? So the dead man trying to speak but can't kind of signifies a message to us that somebody has been through love even before they have, and they failed miserably at it. So maybe these dead men symbolize a message trying to tell the author or the poet that love is destruction and that you should be aware because people have tried to love before you and failed. But she fails to do so, and hence she has this allusion to mention. Moreover, we continue with lines 13 to 19, and we witness one thing, that the poet discloses that one of their children was very sick at once. Touched by death is the phrase she uses in the line. So as usual, and as you see in movies, when a child gets sick, the whole marriage kind of falls apart, and if by any chance and unfortunately the child dies, the marriage also some sort of way dies. It's very important to reflect back to the Odysseus journey. Why? Now, if you remember, and if you have learned about the Odysseus journey, through the river of hell, through Styx, they meet former companions who are dead, but they sense that they are trying to tell them something. They try to speak, but they cannot be heard. So is this a significant message from the poet Eavan Boland trying to tell us that love is not really what it seems sometimes? Maybe love is just more dangerous than people actually think that it is, and maybe this is just warning me, and maybe this doesn't mean anything and I'm just overanalyzing. But again, remember that there's no such thing as overanalyzing when it comes to poetry, as long as you are on topic. It's crucial and important to say that the poet reflects on her past, and she states that the love they had between them was very different than anyone else's love. Lines 20 to 24 are very easy to understand because we are informed that the child was only touched by death and therefore healed, right? It's very important and crucial to consider lines from 20 to 24 because in these lines we are told and we now know that the poet's child was once sick and was healed after that. Now perhaps the child here and the sickness associated with him symbolize a certain sickness that they had in their marriage, maybe a problem that they almost never got over. So perhaps a sick child reflects on a symbolic view on how they had this problem that almost ended in their breakup, on their separation, for example. And hence, due to the fact that the child was healed, they actually made it and got over the problem that they had between each other. Now in lines 25 to 28, they are the conclusion of the poem, and now we figure out what the poet really wants. There were many stressful times in the time that they were married and their lives in Iowa at this very home or house that they were living at. But what is also important to say that she misses that even though the stressful times were there, so she would want to live it again all over. The fact that she compares her husband to a hero, the Odysseus journey through hell, maybe tries to tell us that she saw him as a heroic symbol. She sees him as somebody who is glorious and heroic, and hence we understand why she relates to a myth or a legend when she talks about him and talks about the memories. Now reflect back on the Odysseus journey, maybe the dead men that are trying to say something but can't reflect actually on her. She's trying to bring it all back, but she cannot say it because there's no one else to hear her. She sees an image of her husband standing on the bridge with snow covered on his shoulders perhaps, and this image slowly disappears as he turns around and walks away. So perhaps this is imagery, and this is very, very certainly relating to another illusion. Now this image, as I said, of her husband being on a bridge with snow on his shoulders and turning around, walking away, and she sees him walk away, maybe refers to Hansel and Gretel, or maybe even refers to Orpheus and Eurydice. Of course, the first one is a fairy tale and the other one is a myth, and now both of them can be explained as follows. In Hansel and Gretel, two children are taken to the forest by their father as instructed by the mother to kill them. Well, not actually kill them, but leave them there because they had not enough money and support to actually feed them. What happens is that they try to find their way back, and they manage to do so because one of them leaves stones as traces, and he does find his way home back eventually. There's much more to the story, but this is what I have to say for you right now. Orpheus and Eurydice is a very interesting myth where Orpheus knew how to play an instrument, right, and lured everybody into listening and giving up, surrendering to him. So what happened is that Eurydice was bitten and killed by a snake in a forest. So what happens is that Orpheus goes to the underworld to save her and to bring her back to the world. As he visits the underworld, he plays an instrument and everybody is lured into it. Orpheus does manage to get to Pluto, Hades, the underworld, and who allows him to take back his wife under one condition, that is not to look back at her as they go back to Earth. Of course, thinking that the gods have fooled him, he looks back and loses his wife forever. So could this be an image associated with what happens on that bridge as she looks at her husband walking away from her? This is your poem for today. I hope you enjoyed my analysis and explanation. Take care. See you soon.